What in the world is going on here?
She's trying to be a peacekeeper in the whole thing up in the stands right now.
NBA players are giants. Sometimes they get pretty angry.
This is a throw. Paul and Rondo throwing punches. Ingram comes in.
Want to watch Michael Jordan get into a street fight?
Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it. And I mean, we got fist.
How about Isaiah Stewart charging LeBron James?
Stewart and LeBron. Stewart is hot.
You've got to see the guy who has the guts to attack Shaq.
The shoving continues. They're trying to split them apart. Shaq is violent.
From fights on the court and even in the stands, these are 10 times the NBA turned violent. Yes, there will be blood. Up first, two of the biggest men in basketball duking it out. We're talking about Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, who together weigh over 550 pounds. This would be one epic sumo wrestling duel, but these two couldn't wait until after the game. After Shaq fouled Barkley hard, Charles threw the ball at Shaq's dome. The dudes then went at it and took each other to the floor.
There's a swing by O'Neal, and they got a brouhaha on the floor.
Both players were ejected from the game, fined by the league, and suspended. It's funny because these two are so cool together now and inside the NBA. But it wasn't always that way. I don't know who'd ever want a piece of Shaq, but you'd have to be equally crazy to want a piece of LeBron James. In 2021, LeBron James was playing in Detroit and elbowed Isaiah Stewart right in the eye during a free throw attempt. Stewart came out all bloody and ready to scrap. He didn't care that LeBron is 6'8", 240. He wanted to draw some blood from the king.
One guy, Jeremy Grant. Stewart and LeBron. Stewart is hot. And everybody's coming out now.
Stewart confronted LeBron, but was immediately pulled away by his teammates. Stewart had the devil in his eyes, though, and made multiple attempts to break through his teammates' arms and charge at James. It was all hands on deck to stop the raging Isaiah Stewart. His coaches, the refs, even court security had to step in.
Somebody hit you in the face, you either got to hit him back or act like you want to hit him back.
No, but wait,
it's only two options.
Remember this incident? Yeah, that happened in Detroit too. And the last thing the Pistons wanted was for this brawl to enter the stands. The PA announcer repeatedly warned fans not to come onto the court.
The announcer is saying over to PA.
LeBron James received his first suspension ever after this, while Isaiah Stewart got 2 games and 8 stitches. Anyone else wish that Stewart would have gotten through to LeBron? That'd be quite the fight. If enough people subscribe to the channel, maybe we could talk LeBron into retaliating the next time. The next guys didn't need to schedule a rematch. Punches were thrown and landed. Back in 1984, Larry Bird and Julius Irving were 2 of the most popular stars in the game. Bird's Celtics were pounding Dr. J's Sixers, and Bird was running his mouth, as always. Irving had finally had enough and threw Bird to the ground. Larry Legend wasn't going to take this lying down. He pursued Dr. J and got himself into a 1-on-3 fist fight.
Bird retaliates, and as always, the official sees.
Oh, and a fight between Jay and Bird has broken out on the court. And Mo's for the headlock.
He probably should have rethought his battle plan, because Bird ended up taking a vicious right hand from Irving while getting his arms pinned by Charles Barkley and Moses Malone. Of course, both dudes got ejected. Afterward, they were fined $7,500 apiece, a huge fine for that day.
See, there was an offensive foul called on Larry, so he was really mad at the referee. And it looked like a moment in which he was going to take a swing, and it was very uncharacteristic. Next thing I know, it's a melee.
The underrated part of all this is that Charles Barkley has already been a part of 2 of these fights, and he's going to make another appearance. Teammates are supposed to have your back, and Draymond Green was showing some tough love to Jordan Poole in practice. Some really tough love. Things got heated in Oakland at the Warriors practice facility, and Draymond delivered the best punch in this entire video. Bam! Rumor has it that Jordan Poole wasn't subscribed to the channel, and that was just unacceptable for Draymond Green. It's impossible to tell who started it, but Draymond definitely ended it. Poole went down like a ton of bricks, and Draymond had to be restrained. Because this occurred behind closed doors and was friendly fire, Draymond didn't face any legal action from the league. No suspension, but he still gets the reputation as one of the most violent NBA players in the game today.
I did make contact with him, so I apologize because it wasn't my intention.
You know who else has a little mean streak in him? Carmelo Anthony. Dude damn near fought the entire Knicks team by himself back in 2006. The Denver Nuggets were killing the Knicks in Madison Square Garden on the back of a young Melo. Trying to send a message, the Nuggets still had their starters in the game, despite being up nearly 20 points in the final 2 minutes. This is where things got ugly, and we got to see a side of Carmelo we'd never seen before. After a hard foul in transition, chaos ensued. Little 5'8" Nate Robinson started bowing up as J.R. Smith and Carmelo Anthony started taking swings. The big mass of NBA players started migrating into the front row of the baseline seats, and we started getting shades of the Malice at the Palace.
And now hopefully cooler heads will prevail. Nate Robinson throwing a punch. Smith, Anthony's punch was so loud you could hear it down here, folks.
It soon became clear that Anthony was more riled up than anyone else on the court. He landed a hard right on Marty Collins and then started prancing around the hardwood looking for more Knicks to fight. When the dust had settled, over $1 million worth of fines were issued.
I don't know if that's ever happened in the NBA.
But that is sending a signal right now, Mike, of how severe these penalties are going to be for this.
But Melo was punished the hardest, with a 15-game suspension coming down from the league office. You know who the league would never punish that hard: Michael Jordan. Let's reminisce about the time he tried to shut up Reggie Miller with his fist. Jordan's Bulls met Miller's Pacers in 1993. Before Reggie Miller was the face of Wendy's, he was right up there with Michael Jordan for the best guard in the league. He's not one to back down from a challenge either. Miller and Jordan would go toe-to-toe many times throughout their careers, but this was one of the first incidents between the two. A meet and greet, if you will. After grabbing an offensive board and laying it in, Miller shoved Jordan while transitioning back to the other end of the court. MJ chased after Miller, and the two got nose to nose. I thought they were going to kiss for a second.
And put back, no, it did fall. Now Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it. And I mean, we got fist throwing. Here come the benches. Bo Hale is out there.
Reggie Miller can say something that most people cannot. He was punched in the face by Michael Jordan. Jordan knew the league wasn't going to seriously punish their star. The association slapped him on the wrist with a 1-game suspension, and then he was right back out there doing Michael Jordan things. It takes a lot of balls to pick a fight with Michael Jordan. How about taking on a team that is literally nicknamed the Bad Boys? Remember this guy from earlier, Charles Barkley? Yeah, he's not done fighting. He wants a piece of the most notorious team in NBA history, the Bad Boy Pistons. In a game between the Barkley Sixers and the Pistons in Detroit, 2 separate fights broke out late in the fourth quarter after a hotly contested battle. Isaiah Thomas and Rick Mahorn were scrapping on one side of the paint, while Charles Barkley and Bill Laimbeer had to go just a few feet away.
Now he and Laimbeer start shoving each other. And now Barkley gets into it, and he and Laimbeer. And now there are some punches thrown.
It takes some serious stones to tangle with Bill Laimbeer, the Pistons enforcer. He was known to be one of the roughest, toughest, dirtiest players to ever put on an NBA uniform. Even jostling for position with him in the paint felt like a street fight. This brawl lasted for 5 whole minutes. The refs couldn't break it up. These two had a lot of tension built up. You can bet everyone involved got fined and suspended pretty hard by the league. Charles Barkley and Bill Laimbeer hated each other, but these next 2 guys were former teammates who used to get along. Why is it so compelling when families fight? In the first round of the 1998 Eastern Conference playoffs, the Knicks' Larry Johnson and Miami's Alonzo Mourning engaged in a wildly violent fist fight. Most brawls have like 1 or 2 punches thrown before the players get separated, but both of these dudes were swinging from the heels right in the middle of the court.
And fists are flying at the other end. Larry Johnson is one of them. Here we go. Oakley and Mourning have at each other.
Adding to the chaos is that Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy fell down and was in danger of being trampled while trying to restrain his guy. You gotta love the effort from Van Gundy. Even while on the floor, he reached out and grabbed Alonzo Mourning's leg in a desperate attempt to help extinguish the fire. After the game, the league suspended both Johnson and Mourning for the rest of the series. A controversial move that obviously changed the entire feel of the playoffs.
After a while, you gotta take a stand, and LJ crossed the line at the end. He crossed the line.
It was easy for former NBA Commissioner David Stern to dole out penalties following this next brawl because he was right there when the Bulls and Knicks fought back in the 1994 Eastern Conference quarterfinals. Both New York and Chicago had championship aspirations in 1994. The playoffs bring out the competitive nature of NBA players, which could not have been more evident than when Derek Harper body slammed JoJo English to the hardwood mere feet in front of where then NBA Commissioner David Stern was sitting with his wife.
Now we've got a play with Harper and English. Look out. Into the stands right in front of
Punches were thrown while a massive clump of humans became entangled and began drifting into the stands. Maybe David Stern liked witnessing this fight firsthand, because he gave out some pretty lax punishments considering how violent this fight was. Harper got 2 games, while English received just a 1-gamer. There was a little bit of fan interaction in Chicago as this fight spilled into the courtside seats, but it's nothing compared to this next fight, the infamous Malice at the Palace, which was the most violent night in NBA history. And it's not even close. The Malice at the Palace happened in Detroit back in 2004, and there hasn't been any brawl that has come even close to being this violent ever since.
That's when I really got pissed off. Like, okay, y'all not trying to help us. It's really 15 against 30,000.
This was one of the scariest moments in NBA history. Even the fans weren't safe. Like it often does, a hard foul and a shoving match late in fourth quarter caused a bit of a brawl to unfold.
That happens all the time. The pushing, the shoving, that's all fake.
Detroit's Ben Wallace and Indiana's Ron Artest were the culprits.
But we do have the whistle and a foul. Ben just went after Artest. We got trouble right here in the Motor City. We got big trouble here in the Motor City.
This did not remain a one-on-one fight for very long. Things quickly got out of hand. Ron Artest left the melee and laid down on his back on the scorer's table. He would later say this was a calming method suggested by his therapist.
At that point, I was ready in therapy, so I was practicing in real time. One thing was take 5, right? So if something happened, you're like 1, 2, 3, before you do anything.
A Pistons fan saw an opportunity to dump some beer on Artest and went for it. This is when the violence was turned up to 11. Artest went into the stands and began throwing punches at Pistons fans. Other players soon followed him, and a massive all-out brawl ensued as security at the Palace was totally overwhelmed.
There goes Ben Wallace again. There goes Artest up into the crowd. He's absolutely out of his mind. And Steven Jackson slugging people in the crowd here.
There were only 45 seconds left in the game at this point, but the officials quickly realized that order was not going to be restored anytime soon. They called off the rest of the game, and security helped get both teams safely back to their locker rooms. The punishments dished out by the league after this fracas were the largest ever.
It's going to be real interesting to see what the league does. This is the type of publicity that they just can't afford.
Ron Artest was suspended for the rest of the season. His teammates, Steven Jackson and Jermaine O'Neal, were suspended for 30 and 25 games, respectively.
No matter what is said, no matter what is thrown at you, you don't go into the stands.
Wow, that was a scary scene. These were the most violent moments in NBA history. How about balancing your palate by checking out our other, slightly less violent videos?